Glassenberg from Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are doing very well today. We are here for our member spotlight, which is something that we do most Wednesdays, usually around noon, although I will admit I'm running a little bit late this week, which I apologize for. But we have a chance to talk with one of our Craft Industry Alliance members and learn more about them and about their business journey. Sometimes we get to see a little peek into their studio. Sometimes we get to see some samples of their products and just hear how they've built their business. So it's a lot of fun and I always look forward to it. Today we are going to be hopefully talking to Shannon Arnstein. I am late, so I apologize for that, and hopefully Shannon can still join us. I did have a chance to meet her at H&H Americas actually a few times because she was able to work in the Craft Industry Alliance booth. We have some of our members usually represent us in the Craft Industry Alliance booth at the trade show, which was last week. So she did that, and then she was also able to do a demonstration in our booth, which was really lovely, and she's a super amazing person. Today. Oh my gosh. So we are just back from H&H. We had a wonderful show. We got to meet so many members and it was terrific. And Shannon, thank you for your patience. Sorry for being late today. I was literally just at my laptop typing away, like I'm so on top of everything. And then I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm not. So thank
Well,
you.
it's the after H&H lag of
Can we
I don't
blame
know
it?
how many emails you have and
I
all
know.
the
Can we
things.
blame
Yeah.
it on that? Okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna blame it on H&H, post H&H craziness.
Post H&H craziness.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure that's an excuse, but anyway, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us today. And I was just saying how we got to meet you in person because you worked in our booth and you did a demo in our booth, which was so lovely.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business.
So I am Shannon Arnstein. I am the author of Quilting with Panels and Patchwork. That's one of my most recent things. This book came out October 2023. I write quilt patterns. I design quilt patterns. So this quilt here is actually from my book.
Wow.
And my book is all on using panels. And this one is actually a large panel there and a small, this one here that you can see, and I walk you through the math and my thought process behind it and how it came to be. This one here is called Braided Whirligig, and through Craft Industry Alliance, I found out about Tour de Fabrics, and so I'm actually going to do the quilt along with this one. So I wanted to show that. Have had many wonderful opportunities being a part of Craft Industry Alliance. So
Oh,
thank you
good.
for all of that.
Good, good.
Um, this is a quilt that I have done.
Oh,
I'll hold
wow.
this up. These are all of my mother-in-law's handmade doilies. And so I incorporated
Oh,
a
yeah.
quilt with those doilies. This pattern is written and tested, and the editor has given me back her edits, but because of H&H and all of the craziness, I am lagging on getting that one uploaded into my
That is
Etsy
so
shop.
cool
So
because
yeah,
so many of us inherit,
yes,
these
yes,
linens from
yes.
our, grandmothers, our mothers, even our great grandmothers. And it's like, how many doilies can you really put out in your home today? It's kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, not so fashionable, but they're so beautiful and
Yeah, they're
beautifully made.
beautiful.
So
Yeah,
this is a
yeah,
way to sort of have them and in something that feels a little bit more modern for
yeah,
today.
yeah. I wanted to honor her, and I found, most of the things that she signed, it wasn't her name. Her name is Alice. So we had to go back to my husband's, I believe it was second grade report card. His dad had signed all the report cards, but his mom had signed the one with Alice. And so I took her name and then traced it. The L wasn't quite an L and the E wasn't quite an E. So I kept tracing it and then had him pick which one he thought looked the most like his mom's writing. And so next to the doilies that are hers, I have traced her name and her writing using a Pigma pen for
That's so
permanent. Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So
Oh, I
I'm
love
excited
that.
about that one. It's probably one of my favorite that I've ever done. So
Yeah, that's really cool. And do
yeah.
you have a name for that pattern for when it
It
comes
is
out?
called Alice's Legacy of Love and Lace.
Oh,
because her
love
name
it.
was Alice. And if you knew Alice, she was just known for love. She loved everyone, saw the best in everyone. And so I wanted to make sure that I tied that in, not just her lace, but her legacy of her love and her lace.
That's so sweet. I
Yeah,
love that so much.
yeah,
And when coming back to your quilt panels in the book,
sure.
so for people who don't really know what is a quilt panel, can you just explain like what is that?
Um, yes. Can you give me a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Go grab it,
I've got
whatever
one
you
hanging
need.
right
Yeah.
here.
So totally, because I feel like sometimes you hear this terminology and you're not 100% sure if what you have in your mind is the accurate thing. So,
So
okay.
this is a panel. This is from Riley Blake. And
Okay.
this is a pattern I'm working on right now with them as a collaboration. This is Stars and Stripes Forever. So they come in and they're all attached just like this.
Okay.
And so then I have pieced, let me go grab that one.
Right. So it's like almost like a bigger print and each one can stand alone as like a miniature piece of artwork on fabric.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so how do you use those? How do you
Right. It's
incorporate
kind of like what
those?
do I do with it now
What
that
do
I
I
have it? Because
do
it's
with this?
almost whole
So in my
cloth.
book, I've gone through 15 different projects and thought processes on how to incorporate them into a quilt. So the panel I just showed you, Stars and Stripes Forever, it's pieced right now. It's not quilted, but that will become this pattern here.
Okay. So you can see where the panels fit. They're the center. Are those sawtooth stars? They're the center of the sawtooth
Yes.
star.
So the star here, and then I'm writing the pattern. So that's what I'm piecing right now. It will actually be the back of this, but if this pattern, if the panel, you can't find it, or
Right.
you don't find one that fits, I am making the back side will be another star within that star, so that
Okay.
once this panel's gone, the pattern isn't just obsolete.
Right. And so, like, if you had a different panel that was also a square and kind of fit those
Yes,
dimensions, you
yes.
could make the same quilt, but it wouldn't be stars and stripes. It would be whatever your panel
Exactly.
is with your
Absolutely.
colors.
I have
Yeah.
another one sitting here. They were squares, and this was poppies and tulips. And
Okay. So
these,
there you can see a different variant. Right.
yes. And so these came as squares as well, and I made those into square and a square.
Great. And
Yeah.
almost all the quilting fabric companies have panels of different
Yes.
kinds. It's a
Yes.
fairly common sort of type of print, but
Yes.
it is sometimes a little mysterious as to what you do with them.
What
So,
we do with it, they don't come in standard size, so you get it home and you love it, but then you think, what am I
what do I
supposed to
do?
do with this?
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And they
totally.
can be kind of tricky to work with, so I go
Yeah.
through tips and tricks and ways to get them if they're kind of wonky. Sometimes they get printed wonky, or when they get wrapped, maybe they become wonky. So how to deal with that, how to work with them, my thought process, the math that went into that. It's quilting math. It is math, but it's quilting math. I say you can do it. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's great. So to have a whole book, so your whole book is focused on
yes,
creative ways to incorporate panels into patchwork so
yes.
that you can make whole quilts with them. I think that's an awesome concept. How did you
Thank
come
you.
up with that? Did you just pitch this
Um,
idea or?
well, 2022, my husband had kept saying, if you become the next Martha Stewart, I'll buy the RV and I'll drive you around. We
Ah,
have priced the RVs. We're not buying it quite yet, but so I would sit in my room and I would think, how do I become that next Martha Stewart?
oh, I love
And
it.
so I had wanted to learn how to incorporate panels, and I just thought I'm going to make myself figure this out, and I'm
I
going to
love
just
that.
design. And so it just came out of a need that I had and something that I wanted to solve.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
great. That's the
yeah,
best way to learn. It's like
yes,
you just think to yourself, well, what is it that I'm curious about?
sure,
And
yeah,
then set about, I mean, I think I love that, crafting and craft business is all about constant learning and
yes,
curiosity and like being open to those new ideas. And
yes,
a lot of times the thing that you can become known for is literally right in front of you. You don't have
absolutely.
to go out some crazy way. You can just literally look at what is it that you are curious about, what is it that you know about or could learn about and become an expert on, and just do that.
Well, and I think as crafters, when we get bored with something, then we're done with it. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know about you, but I've dabbled in card making and stamping, and I've not mastered watercolor painting, and I've not mastered several other, sketching and things like that. Quilting, I've stuck with it for so long because I'll never learn it all. I
right.
mean, there's so many facets of it, and I think as quilters and crafters, if we master something, we're bored with it, and I think that's the magic of all the different crafts. Being at H&H, the cosplay. I don't make garments, but seeing them on the mannequin, and then I stumbled into a parade that walked by and getting to see that on the person who made it. That was amazing. I don't
It
do
was.
anything with yarn, but the colors and the textures and just the inspiration. And I think they probably have, just like quilting, learned many facets of it, but yet there's still so much to learn and do.
Yeah,
So
no,
I love that.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so when did you start your business? Like, what were you doing before you started this?
So I was a hairstylist for many,
Oh,
many years. Yeah.
okay.
And then I became a stay-at-home mom when my son was born. And so I think I'd have to go back and look. I started when he was like 3 or 4 years old. He's going to be 21 this summer. So it's been a
Crazy.
minute.
Yeah,
And I had borrowed my mom's sewing machine, and my husband knew that I was loving it because I was making curtains and things for his room. And so that year for Christmas, he knew I needed creativity. And so he got me a sewing machine. And that first year, while my son would nap, I would tape Alex Anderson's Simply Quilt on HGTV. I loved that show so much. I learned so much from her. And then that next year for Christmas, I asked for an intro to quilt making class. And that was the best because here my son was like 4, and every Thursday I had to leave and take my little sewing machine and go to
right.
class. So it was a gift that just kept giving for months and months and months. And I just instantly took to it. I just loved it. I loved all the colors and the learning and the different techniques. And so I started piecing for a while, and then I was a sample maker and a pattern tester for several fabric companies and loved that.
That's very
But
helpful because you get lots of experience.
lots of experience and lots of things like, okay, this did not go so well, or I know now you definitely need a pattern edited. I would never not have a pattern edited. I'm just too close to it, and so there's lots of mistakes that might come back from the editor, and I thank you, thank you, thank you, because
Tech editors are amazing. Yes.
amazing. They are amazing. So um and so then the opportunity came for me. I just decided I wanted to do my own thing, and I wanted to make my own dreams come true. And so then that's when in 2022 it was formed to write this book. And
Yeah,
uh, I submitted it to the publishing companies in September, October of 2022. And then um, began the writing process, submitted all of that in March of 2023. And then my book came out October of 2023. So
that's
since then,
amazing.
I've been
It's
writing more patterns and um, submitted a second book idea. So we'll see. That gets voted on next week. So fingers
woo,
crossed, there
fingers
might
crossed for
be,
you. And
yeah.
who is your publisher?
I'm published through Fox Chapel, and I
Fox
have
Chapel.
had a fabulous, wonderful experience with them. Highly recommend them. I've been very, very satisfied. Great, great company to work with.
That's great. I sat
Yeah.
next to them at our member dinner, so that was
Yes.
lovely to have a
Yes.
chance to hang out in person. But
Yes.
that's really great. And, it's interesting how quickly a book has to come together. So it sounds like you got the contract and things like that in October and submitted the quilts in March.
Yes.
That's right. So if you think about it, how many quilts was that about? Do you know? Do you remember?
15.
15
15.
quilts.
Yeah,
Okay,
15
so
quotes. Yes.
making a quilt is not, especially a quilt like this that involves a lot of
Yes.
piecing, a lot of blocks, to put them all together and figure out, design it all, right? So
Yes.
15 quilts between October and March. It's an intense experience.
It was, and it's Christmas, and
Oh, true.
yeah, and it's not light out very long. So,
Right.
to get all the photos, I would set my alarm for between 5 and 5:30, and I would get up every morning. I would make a French press pot of coffee. I would sit at the bar in the kitchen, drink the coffee, and do the writing until the light was coming in all the way around. Then I would come up and I would take my pictures that I needed in my studio. And then when it started to get shadowy, about 2 to 3, then I would pin everything and leave a pile of work to do the next day when I and I would piece that night so that then it was ready for all of my pictures. So
Right.
it
It's
was
a
a
flow.
process.
It's a
It,
flow. It's a process, but it's
yes,
also a really great personal challenge because
yes,
once you've done it, you see what it is you actually can do. Now, will
yes,
you burn out if you keep working at that pace? Probably, but you
probably.
can, but you do realize like if I needed to, I could actually create a really beautiful, solid pattern every whatever number of weeks
Yes,
and get
yes,
this done, which
yes.
I think, prior to that sort of deadline pressure, you might think, oh, that's impossible. I'm not sure if I could do that. But it really does give you that confidence. And then once it's out in the world, you're like, yeah, I did
I
this,
did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This last January, February, we went to Florida, my husband and I. We were there for about 7, 8 weeks, mid-January, February, and part of March. And I didn't want to sew a thing. I didn't crack out a sewing machine. I didn't sew anything. I painted. I studied brown. I have never been an appreciator of brown. And there was a quilt that I had made that featured Smokey the Bear. And when I finished it, it was gorgeous. And I thought, I have avoided brown my whole life. And being Smokey the Bear, it was tons of brown. And I thought, well, why have I avoided this? And so I had to really dig back. When I was a kid, we had a brown car and I hated that car. And so I asked my mom, why did we have that brown car? And she says, I don't know, but I hated that car. And so I think, did I hate the car because there was something wrong with the car? Did I hate the car because my mom hated the car? I've just never loved brown. But I had an art teacher say to me, I don't want you to think about brown as brown. I want you to think about brown as all the colors that it took to create that brown. And so there are blue browns and red browns and orange
Right.
browns. And my favorite are purple browns. I've come to
Oh,
realize
yeah.
I really love the purple browns. And so I have rocks and sticks and twigs and
Hmm.
things I found at the beach. And I've lined them up from the darkest to the lightest. And then I've grouped them in their, the blue brown, the orange brown, the yellow brown, the purple brown, and just mixed. And so I studied brown really for the winter. And when I came back, I was ready to sew again. And a friend of mine said, now that I'm thinking about writing a second book, she said, I think it was kind of almost like your back building. It was like
Yeah.
your respite so that you could go back into this crazy season again.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
beautiful. And I love that you sort of, it seems like you repeatedly decide, I'm going to study something and learn
yeah,
it, even if I don't know anything about it, or I think it might be hard, or I'm not sure I like it, or whatever. But you sort of set about a project of learning
sure.
about it. And whether it's with making panel quilts or with learning to love the color brown, et cetera. And I just think that's a great way to live your life, which is like, I want to be able to do X and I'm going to just set my mind to it and little by little do it, even if, it might be something I'm very unfamiliar with or might be bad at or whatever it might be. So that's a really great approach.
Thank you. I'm never
Yeah.
afraid to ask someone who I think knows more than me. And, had I not asked the art teacher, I would have never heard to study brown and break down
Yeah.
what color went into making it. I would have just kind of fumbled along on my own. But I thought it was a beautiful approach as to how to learn to appreciate it. And I have.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And where is your studio space where you are now? Is this in your
I am in my
house?
home in Muncie, Indiana, and I would show you the whole space, but it looks like a tornado has
No
gone off
pressure,
in
no pressure.
here.
We just came back from a massive trade show. So you're in, is it a spare bedroom or what is
I started with a spare bedroom. And then when I write, the writing portion is the most uncomfortable for me. So I
okay.
can't be where it's a familiar spot.
Uh-huh.
So the upstairs here, I have literally taken over the entire upstairs. So it's my son's old bedroom. He
Okay.
moved to the basement, and I
Okay.
have a writing desk in there, and there's a bed if I need a nap, and a chair to sit in. And then there's a Jack and Jill bathroom, and then this is my design room, and all
I
of the
see.
books from my quilt or all the quilts from my book hang in his closet so that they're like last night I did a talk in Columbus, Indiana. And so I need to be able to access all the quilts
Right.
quickly, load them up in a trunk and go. And then outside of here is like a living room loft. And I sit out there sometimes and write because it's not in my space where it's all my things that are familiar and I know what to do.
Right. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
think it's helpful to hear how people sort of set
Yeah.
up their space for productivity.
Yeah.
And just being able to force yourself to do the things that you're not super excited about, like for you, writing, and figuring out a space where you can do that more productively in,
Yes.
and where to keep all the samples for your book so that they're easy to take out and do trunk shows or talks or whatever you need them for. So I think that's really helpful to hear. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And so it
One of
sounds
the
like
other
next,
things,
oh yeah,
this light on here, this is
okay.
like a cabinet and it has fabric in it. So
Mm,
when that light is on, and then there's like a room atomizer next to that with aromatherapy. So those are kind of my signal. It's go time. It's time
okay.
to get your stuff in gear and it's time to work. Because sometimes we just need to tell ourselves,
Yep.
you got to get stuff done.
It's work
So
like it's
those are
work
kind
like
of,
any other. Yeah.
yeah, those are kind of tricks that I play on myself. Like this is your signal. It's time to go.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. It might be putting on music or putting on
sure.
special lighting, whatever it might be, but that, you have, and sometimes it's best not to wait for, the muse to strike, but just to say, well, I'm working today from like 9 to 11, so got to get in there and do it, whether I
The
care or not.
other trick I'll
Yeah,
do is I'll set a timer for myself for like half an hour, 45 minutes. And
yeah,
often by the time because it takes a few minutes to kind of get in the groove.
it
And
does.
often by the time the timer goes off, I'm in the groove and I don't
Right,
need
you
to
want to
set
keep
another
going.
timer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But it sort
just,
of makes you feel like there's a way out. If I hate this and I'm not having
yes,
fun, I can leave
yes,
at that moment. So,
yes.
yeah, no, those are really helpful productivity
Yeah.
hacks. And, you have to be really productive and be on a schedule if you're going to meet some of these book
Yeah.
deadlines. And, the other thing is publishers really like working with authors who meet their deadlines. So,
Yes.
because, it's a collaboration. You're providing the talent, but, they're doing a whole lot on their end as well. And if the stuff doesn't come in when they're expecting it, that can be problematic. So you want to be a good partner. And
Absolutely.
these productivity hacks are really helpful. So
Yeah.
that's great. All right. So we are keeping our fingers crossed for you for Fox Chapel for next week.
Fox is listening. I love you.
But that's great. And book ideas, sometimes I've had book ideas totally rejected, and
Absolutely.
then come back with new ideas and gotten a book deal. So
Yep.
sometimes it means not right now when you get a no. Sometimes it means no.
Yes.
Sometimes it means let's pivot this idea to something slightly different than you didn't think of. And that might even be a better idea. So anyway, there's
Absolutely.
lots of ways that it goes, but we're hopeful for you for the
Thank
next
you.
opportunity. That sounds great. And it was great having you here. And sorry for being late again, but I'm so glad we made it work.
It's a first world problem.
It is.
Yeah. One
Okay,
last
then.
thing, if anyone
Yes.
is in the Indianapolis area, Anderson is about an hour north, and that's kind of the next main city next to me. I will have all of my quilts on display. They've asked me to do an art display. So June 6th is opening night. It's about an hour north of Indy, and they will be on display till July 19th. So never
Wonderful.
been part of an art display. I'm so honored, so humbled. Doors keep
Very
opening, and
cool.
I just keep saying yes. So
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Good
So
opportunity.
yes,
Well,
thank you
Shannon,
for
thank you
having
so much
me.
for doing this with us.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody who came today, and we will see you next week. Bye,
Bye. Thank
everybody.
you.